it's becoming a bit of an easier pill to swallow as time goes on. Time is the best. I'd have thought because it's raining today, the seagulls wouldn't be as bad, but you know. Hi there and welcome back to Planet Property. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who sent me such kind messages after my last video. You know, it's becoming easier to digest every day and it will be fine. Yeah, we go again. I'm already sort of starting to prepare things for my resubmission because at the time, 31st of August seemed like a really long way away as the resubmission deadline, but it's now sort of coming up to the end of June and I'm sort of thinking that really isn't too far away at all. So yep, we move on with that. Today's video I thought would be sort of, as I am now restarting the process, granted obviously I've got a lot of the back work already done, but I thought today I'd talk to you about how to actually start with your APC, because I think when you first sign up it can be quite a daunting task, particularly if you are doing it on your own or you don't have a huge amount of support from your company or you don't have colleagues doing it. It can be a very daunting task and you just sort of stare down this barrel of going, oh my god, where do I even start? So I'm going to outline my tips that I would give anyone who's just enrolled or is just beginning the process of their APC. So number one, keep your diary. It is the most boring thing ever, but you don't want to be like me and have to backdate your diary for about 6 months, trying to scroll back through your emails and your meetings and work out what it was you did on a specific day. Do not be me. Keep up to date with your diary. One thing that I used to do was I used to make so I kept an Excel spreadsheet on my computer and I just used to make the tiniest little notes at the end of every day of what I'd done AM and PM that day. And then when it got to Friday afternoons, I would write all those up in sort of more clear diary entries within ARC. So that was once I'd done the backdating of 6 months, because I thought I'm never doing this again. Today is the first proper day of summer. It's the summer solstice, longest day of the year, and I've not seen rain like this in a very long time. If that doesn't summarise what being in England right now feels like, I don't know what is. There's a wonderful phrase that I learned when I was doing A-level English, which is pathetic fallacy, which is a tool that authors can use to have the weather emulate how their characters are feeling. So, you know, if it's a sort of dark, stormy night, then you know that something bad is going to happen. Or if it's a lovely, beautiful, sunny day, then people are happy. Maybe there's a bit of pathetic fallacy going on at the moment. We were supposed to be freed today. 21st of June was Freedom Day, but Big Boss has moved it back to the 19th of July. But we move, we live and learn. That was a tangent. Number two, start learning ethics straight away. Ethics is the kind of thing where you just have to know it and there's no getting around it. Ethics is an automatic referral if you get it wrong. So fortunately, I didn't get it wrong. I've seen my referral report, because that was a moment of panic I had when I saw I got referred. And I thought, oh my god, did I get one of my ethics questions wrong? That was good. I didn't get that wrong. I would just be learning ethics from the beginning, because it's such a big task and there's so much to learn about it. If you start early on, start learning it, make your flashcards, make your notes, and then just keep revisiting it over the period. Once you've done that initial learning, then it's so much easier to regurgitate the information and sort of revisit the information, which is something that I did. I learned ethics a couple of years ago now. I did a big sort of internal exam on ethics with some of the other grads at the time. I learned it all then. I passed. Didn't really think much about ethics for probably about a year or so. And then when I came back to it, yes, it was rusty, but the information was all there. My flashcards were all there, and it was so easy to just refresh the knowledge in my brain rather than learn it all from scratch 6 months prior to final assessment and go, oh my god, I've got to learn this and this and this and ethics, which absolutely has to pass. Number three is make sure you have projects that you're working on that are going to be good examples across multiple competencies. And if you aren't, then now is a great time to speak to your manager and say, I need to do more projects that allow me to develop my development appraisal skills, because I need to do up to level 3 or level 2 in that competency, and I have a year, 18 months, 2 years to really get to grips with that. So really have a look at your workload, look at the projects you're working on, look at the kind of work you're doing, and have a conversation with your manager saying, what I need from you as a support to help me pass is to give me the kind of work where I can really get into these kinds of competencies. Like I say, so much easier if your employer is supporting you through this. But if they're not, then identifying early on that you are missing valuation skills within your day-to-day work, then you then have the option of going out externally, because there are lots of places and lots of consultants, and if you meet people, networking is so important with this kind of thing, because I don't really do valuation internally as part of my job. It's just not something we do at the company. But I have a friend who I met through networking. She's a development consultant, so she's been helping me review my appraisals with me. And I went and did some valuations with her to get my valuation experience up. And she's been so useful, so helpful throughout the whole process. Obviously, networking at the moment is a bit difficult, but the world is starting to return to normal. I'm really hoping that we're going to get some networking events back soon, and just meeting people who do slightly different things within your area is never going to be a bad thing. Number 4, it is never too early to start writing it up. Don't let anyone fool you into thinking that they wrote it in a weekend or something. This is a big document, and it's a lot of revision you have to do, and it's hard work and it's draining. And if you're doing it whilst working full time and probably juggling other life commitments, it's not something to be taken lightly. Never, ever, ever think that it's too early to start writing. Even if all you're doing is bulking out your diary entries a little bit for your summary of experience, start writing things down early. And I would say you need to be identifying your case study maybe about a year before your final submission. Certainly at least 9 months, because you need a good 3 or 4 months to write it up, I would say. And to be at that point, the project needs to be at a point where you've done enough work to prove that it is a good case study. So I would say for example, you were looking to submit in the summer 22 session. I would be looking around at the moment and going, have I got any projects that I'm about to pick up or I've worked on or are sort of coming forward in the pipeline that look like they could be juicy? And that way you've got 6 to 9 months to, I mean, obviously it depends on the nature of the project. The project that I picked for my case study was a development project, so it was a long-winded process. If you're just doing a rent review or evaluation of a property or something, you know, that's something that you can do in a couple of months. So perhaps with that one, it doesn't have to be as relevant, but I would certainly start thinking about a year in advance. If you're on the 24-month structured training program, this is, of course, I would start seriously thinking about your examples and your case study about a year in advance of your final submission. I think that's what I did last spring. I passed my RTPI and I started looking around going, right, okay, are the projects I'm working on going to help me with my APC? Am I working in the right areas? Where am I lacking? Do I have a project that I'm working on that will be a good case study? So I think, yeah, just never be afraid to start writing things down, because you can just keep redrafting it. If you've got a copy saved on your computer, you can just keep going back to it, and it just allows you the benefit of time to do it slowly over a long period of time. You can maybe you've got a Friday afternoon where you really don't feel like answering emails. Start writing out some of your diary entries into more structured formats to fill into your summary of experience. And then you can have a couple of weeks off if you want, because you're a year out. Just, yeah, my advice always is to make it a longer, slower process over the period of time. Number 5, don't be afraid to ask people to review your submission. It is embarrassing, and especially the summary of experience. Well, and the case study as well, to be honest. They're embarrassing documents because you're going, I did this, I did that, I'm so wonderful, blah, blah, blah. And as human beings, particularly as British people, we're not very good at sort of shouting our achievements and why we're good at things. But I would say the minimum you need is 3 people. You need obviously your counsellor or supervisor or whoever else. You need another person who is a qualified surveyor in your field but is not related to your submission, so someone outside of your counsellor and supervisor, ideally maybe even outside of your company or outside of your immediate area of work, who is aware of the process in the system but isn't fully aware of the actual work you do. And then someone who isn't a surveyor at all, who does the spelling and grammar check and just a sense check to make sure it works. And those are the absolute minimum, I would say. If you can send them to a couple of more surveyors as well. So I sent mine to my counsellor, my supervisor, a colleague, another colleague, the aforementioned friend I have who works externally as a development surveyor and evaluator, my mum, and my boyfriend also had a glance over it. I had 7 people look at mine. So, I mean, in saying that, I didn't pass, so maybe I'm not the person to listen to here. But yeah, because all those people are going to have different views as well on what they think is a good submission, where you think you're gonna have to make tweaks. So it's just collecting all of that knowledge together and forming what you think is the best representation of you, because ultimately these people that you're sending it to, they just want you to pass. They want to help you. They want you to be shown in the best light. So get as many people on board. And again, this comes with starting early, because you can't be sending these documents to people a week away from the deadline and expecting them to reply with great comments. You need to start getting these out at least, I would say, 6 weeks prior to the written deadline. You need to be sending out your draft copies for people to review. So again, this comes back to starting early. It's never too early to start. Those are my 5 top tips for getting started with your APC. Granted, the last one was more about actually finishing it off, but it's never too early to start. Start with ethics, keep up on your diary, and just write things down as you go along, and it will all kind of fall into place from there, to be honest with you. So I hope you found this useful, and as always, my contact details are below if anyone wants to get in touch with me to talk more specifically about the planning and development pathway or the APC process in general. And I hope you have a lovely week. You quite done?